Hey y'all, it's Brandy, or as most of you know me on Instagram, Pre-Med Mom Gets Fit. So I am currently studying for the MCAT right now, which is not fun. And I get questions all day long on my Instagram post or through Instagram messages or Facebook or Snapchat or wherever about how I'm studying for the MCAT and how I'm creating a study schedule and any MCAT advice and what books I'm using. And when I asked for video ideas, most of y'all said MCAT. So it seems to be a highly requested thing. And by the way, keep sending me questions on Instagram and messages. I love answering them and I'm here for y'all. But I figure instead of answering individual questions, I would do video to answer all of you at once. But the MCAT has a lot of different things, so I figure I'm going to do a series because it's not really something you can conquer in one video unless the video is hours long, and who wants to watch that? So before I get into the nitty-gritty of the MCAT, of the books and study schedule and all that stuff, I figured I should tell you my MCAT story. Now, as if y'all have seen in my pre-med video, my life, every time I plan something, it completely falls apart. So this story should be pretty entertaining if you're not living it like I am. I've looked at MCAT books on and off for years because I've been in pre-med forever, but of course life keeps getting in the way. But the first time I seriously studied for it was in 2014. My husband deployed in the summer of 2013, and I successfully did fall semester with a 4.0 with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old and no husband, but it was extremely difficult and time consuming, and it took me away from my family. So I decided to take spring of 2014 off and use it to study for my MCAT. Unfortunately, in the beginning, I procrastinated quite a bit, and I was focused on my family and the house and taking care of things. So I was registered to take the exam in July. I didn't seriously start studying for it until May. I know, that's not a smart idea. Do not leave yourself that little of room. My husband came home in April, so I kind of studied like here and there while he was gone. Then he came home in April. We spent a lot of family time together when he first came home. And then it was like, okay, now I have help with the house and the kids. Now I can really study. So May, June, and half of July, I was literally doing like 8-hour days. It was very intense. I wasn't sleeping. I was studying as much as I possibly could. But here's where life likes to laugh at me. I got pregnant at the end of June. I found out I was pregnant 10 days before my test date. How I knew I was pregnant was, my first sign was I was exhausted. I could not focus. I had major brain fog. I went from studying 8 hours to studying 2 hours because I was so tired. I literally was just exhausted. That's always my first sign. And then I got the pleasant morning sickness of spending half my day in the bathroom throwing up. So between exhaustion, not being allowed to eat anything, I actually ended up with my third child having the worst morning sickness I ever had and got diagnosed with, I just had a mind blank. But it's very serious morning sickness to where you have to go to the hospital for dehydration and IV fluids and all that fun stuff. Not fun. So between not being able to eat, which is energy, and being exhausted, which is no energy, I was just zapped. My brain was not functioning. You need glucose for brain function, for all you science people. And everybody needs glucose, but you science people know what I'm talking about. And it was just a disaster. I went from really doing well studying and cranking to 2 weeks before the test, I just fall apart. But, I registered for it, so I went and took it, and I kept having to run out of the testing center to throw up. So I ran out of time on every section. Yep. Yay, me. Got my test scores back, and they were actually decent for being sick as a dog. I made a 26 overall. I made a 7 on physical sciences, 11 on verbal, and an 8 on the biological. So verbal, yay. Physical, biological, not so much. After I had my third son, I had him in March. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to MCAT study after I have him because it was a very rough pregnancy. I was in the hospital a lot. There was no way that I could handle MCAT studying with pregnancy. So I was like, okay, well, when he's a newborn, I'm going to MCAT study. Every time I nurse, I can sit down with my MCAT book. Well, doesn't exactly go as planned. So I signed up for the MCAT September 5th, 2015. Well, now we have the new 2015 MCAT, which is biochem, which I've never taken before in my life. So I was trying to self-teach myself biochem, which was a huge disaster. On top of that, I had a newborn and 2 other kids. It was a mess. And to add on to the mess that is my life, I got postpartum depression. Yay! Which I didn't recognize for a very long time because I was very angry. I wasn't sad, I was angry. So I didn't realize it was postpartum depression. I just thought that everybody in the world was irritating me. It was like permanent PMS. And it got worse and worse and worse and worse. So I didn't study. I'm not even going to lie. I did not study at all for the second round. There was no motivation there. If any of y'all have had depression, you know that you're just not motivated to do anything. I didn't care. I didn't care about the MCAT. I didn't care what my score was. I didn't care about my future. I was barely getting by on a daily basis, and things had gotten worse and worse and worse. Were snowballing. But I showed up, I sat there, I took the test, and this was September 2015. I made a overall score of 498, which is a little below average. Hello, didn't study. My chemical was 122. My verbal was 130, which is amazing. And I'll talk more about MCAT scores and what they mean later, but that's really good. Biological was 122, really bad. And psychology was 124, which is pretty bad since I'm a psychology major. And I mean, I literally went in there cold, just took the thing. I do really well in verbal naturally. That's like my cup of tea. I know how to critical think and how to answer questions. But obviously on the sciences, you need to study. You need to know the information to do well. You can't just critical think your way through it. So that's kind of my MCAT story. I have been told by people that my scores are good enough to get into a DO school and not really an MD, but possibly with other stuff in the mix. But for me, the number one reason that I'm retaking is I didn't do my best on either one. The first one, I was physically sick. The second one, I was mentally sick. And I did not do my best. I didn't do anywhere close to my best. I wasn't even at 50%. I was maybe 25% my best. And I can't live with myself submitting these 25% scores. So no matter where I apply or where I go or whether something is good enough, it's not good enough for me. And they're not good enough for me to be happy and secure in that. And then I'll also have GPA issues, which I talked about in my other video. So my MCAT needs to be really good because I don't have everything else perfect to where a low MCAT is not as big of a deal. I need a really good MCAT score to balance out my GPA issues and my non-traditional stress. So that is why I'm retaking. The thing is, should you take the MCAT 3 times? Probably not. But I have circumstances that warrant it, and I can explain those. And hopefully this time will be my last time taking it ever, and I can do really well on it. And hopefully right now my physical health is good, my mental health is good. Hopefully it can stay that way because as you know, life is unpredictable, as I've learned with both my first two MCATs. So I just kind of wanted to give y'all some information about my MCAT history. I am testing this time September 10th. Worst case scenario, January, because I haven't been getting as much studying done as I wanted to. I started kind of late due to an extremely difficult online biochem class that I had to finish, which should help me on the MCAT. So hopefully I'll be okay. So as of right now, September 10th is the plan. The very next test date is January. So if I really don't want to have to stretch my studying out to January, but we will see. And I will be coming with y'all with more MCAT videos. Talking about, I think my next video is going to be creating your MCAT schedule. And that is probably going to be a two-parter because there's the reasons behind why your schedule should be the way it should be. I'll explain in the next video. Because people ask me that all the time. And I'm like, okay, I need this information to determine how your schedule is going to be. Because it's not just there are schedules that you can look up online that are very just fill in the blank, this is my schedule. That's not what each person needs, their own individual schedule. And I'll explain all that in my next video. But I kind of wanted to tell you about my old scores, why they're sucky, and that I'm retaking. And I will be coming with y'all with more MCAT videos and a whole MCAT series about books, study schedules, the whole thing. I've been there, done that. This is my third time at the rodeo. And I would love to share any and all information with you in my journey while I study for the MCAT as well. So hopefully we can do this all together and it'll be fun. And we can study hard and then kick some ass on the MCAT and call it a day. Yay! So give this a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want some more MCAT videos. There may be some weight loss videos later. I don't know. I might just keep this a pre-med channel. I'll have to figure that out. But let me know what MCAT questions you have. I need to know what questions you have so I can answer them. So comment below your MCAT questions and I will cover them in a video. I hope y'all have enjoyed this and there'll be many more coming soon. All right. Have a great day, y'all. Keep studying.